Hi everybody, this is Wilma Watson from breakfreetoday.org. We've been talking about over the weeks, and this is the fourth session of 11 sessions, on what keeps us from really experiencing the love of God. We've been explaining how inner shame keeps us from experiencing the love of God, because it puts a veil over our eyes and we are not able to receive all that God has for us. Today I want to look at how inner shame produces a fear of failure or a fear of rejection. Now, when I talk to people about a fear of failure or a fear of rejection or any other thing that shame produces, they don't really get it. It's because shame hides. We need to expose shame, and that's what I'm trying to do, because shame will keep you bound. And it'll keep you from knowing the love of the Father. Shame, as we discussed in earlier sessions, is a generational thing. It comes down through the generations. It can also come through guilt, through abuse, or through rejection. I know it well because on my first day of school, the teacher said to me, "What's your name?" I said my name was Wilma. He said, "Oh, I don't like that name, so what's your second name?" I said, "Grace." He said, "Okay, I'll call you Grace from now on." He was quite abusive to me because he didn't like my father and he took it out on me. This gave me a fear of rejection. So I understand it well, and I also understand how to be free from it. Inner shame creates a cycle that we can't get off. I'm going to show you this cycle as you'll see it on the screen now. We can be either assertive in an assertive approach or a non-assertive approach. Inner shame covers up on both sides, as you can see. With the non-assertive approach, we'll go into fear of rejection and we'll seek to please. But that will bring resentment and bitterness and anger when you're pleasing people and you're not really appreciated. It'll turn into self-hate and anger, bringing you to depression, but you'll go around in the circle again because you really do want to please. The other one is an assertive approach. In our cover-up, we have a fear of failure. We seek to control not only ourselves but others, and we're driven to perform. Or, on the opposite, we can have a non-caring approach. I remember with my daughter, as a teenager, she was a perfectionist, and then all of a sudden she changed and the room was a mess. I thought, I can't understand it, but I do now because I see that as part of inner shame. You'll either give up in your perfectionism or you'll fight for it. You can become critical of yourself and others, very legalistic, which will make you angry and defensive when other people don't come to the party. You'll be isolated, lonely, depressed, and so the cycle will go around again. Inner shame keeps us from really connecting with God. For that fear of rejection or fear of failure will keep you from praying. I know I have people come to me for prayer, and they ask me for a prayer request, and I say, "Will you pray?" "Oh, I couldn't pray," they'd say. It also keeps us from being used of God. It really frustrates me because when we were in Ethiopia, we saw people who led others to the Lord. We didn't have big evangelistic outreaches. We didn't have people coming to church to know Jesus. We had people sharing the love of God with their friends, and they led them to the Lord. But here in the Western world, somehow we've got the idea that we take people to church. I'm not good enough to lead someone to the Lord, they would feel. It's the root of fear of failure or the fear of rejection. This fear will rob us of really being used to the Lord and allowing the love of God to be shed abroad in our heart. Next week, we'll look at how inner shame prevents us from receiving God's forgiveness and extending forgiveness to others. I'll see you then.